Guess who's back again. Mike and Gerald. Tell your friends. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Na.
That was awesome.
It was great. That's a new theme
It
song.
took us 3 seasons to get our own theme song, but we got it now. It's Cameron Irvine live and in concert, I guess. I don't know if he's going to sell any tickets to that, but,
I'd buy it.
I'd buy it.
Have you seen that man?
Oh, he's so pretty.
He sure is.
That's how we're starting season 24 with whatever that just was. But hey, we are back. The Willson SFL Kickoff Show in its 3rd season. We are here to kick off season 24. So excited to do it. Happy New Year, everybody. Season 23, it feels like it just ended. Mexico City, still riding high on that championship. Looking forward to season 24. I know you're probably upset with me that I'm not quite in dress code, but I earned this.
Yeah, I guess I got jeans.
Yeah, you dressed down too. So see, we're getting a little bit more relaxed and casual.
Casual Friday.
Season 24. And our theme song was as casual as it could be. So I loved it. It was absolutely fantastic. All right, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Hey, we got a 45-minute show now. How about that?
It's good because it's like we run over and our wonderful Hamish and producer says just take
the extra
minutes.
15.
I'm tired of just people saying when's the game starting?
We promise we'll keep things on track, to keep things on time on our 45-minute show. First off, let's talk about that championship game. It was one heck of a game, lived up to all the hype. Mexico City ended up taking down the team that just seemed like nobody could beat them in Canton, and then Canton got beat so bad they packed up and shipped out to Vegas and rebranded.
You literally kicked them out the league under new
gone.
ownership. He's like, I can't take 2 losses in a championship. That was a straw they thought they had in the bag. Look, and the way you guys won last season was even more convincing than what Florida did to Canton the season before. A lot of people thought that, hey, look, Canton was a team to even beat. Maybe they were, if they were a team that was going to win it and beat Destiny and everything else. But guess what? You guys came in and you actually, in my opinion, from my perspective, you guys dominated for a lot of that game. I remember sitting there watching with you saying, you guys got this thing won. It was what, 2nd quarter, 3rd quarter? I'm like, the way the game flow is going, looked like you guys had a hit, and you guys took it and you won it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. DJ Kilgannon says, what's Cam going to do when y'all go over in this time frame? We're not gonna. We're going to stay on track. And speaking of which, we got to keep going because we did pack in 45 minutes worth of stuff to talk about. All-Star roster was finally just released, kind of the finishing touch on season 23. It's in the incentives channel if you haven't seen it yet. Every team actually has a representative, even Chance Wall from your Revs, who now is, residing a little bit south of the border in Mexico City, which was great to see that every team had somebody, make it to the All-Star roster. Plan going forward is going to be to, keep tally on those All-Star scores throughout the season, and pretty much right at the end of the regular season, we'll have that All-Star roster ready to go. So a lot of new stuff coming up this season. There's new teams, new old teams. We got Oklahoma City Renegades, back from beyond. Sin City Samurai, we already talked about. Washington Trident. So I know you wanted to touch on those.
Yeah, look, and it's like those, the way those teams, look, they moved over and everything under new champion, under new leadership, and now you also have Washington, right, changing over from used to be St. Louis to Motor City, and now going out to to Washington, do those things. So it's going to be interesting to see how with this division alignment, how it's going to shape.
Yeah, divisions changing up just a little bit. All of them except for the East. The West is getting Sin City and Washington joining Arizona, Los Angeles, and Vancouver. Down south, we've got Albuquerque coming down to join the rest of the remaining South after your Green Horse ran off. Central Division gains Oklahoma City along with Chicago, Denver, Indianapolis, and Minnesota. And then up north, they've got Lexington joining Baltimore, DC, Pittsburgh, and Queen City. A $10 super chat from Ronnie Shanahan. DC Dragons, a new season, a new year, and it's time for that W tonight. I bet Corey Menor and the Pittsburgh Riverhogs have something to say about that, but appreciate the super chat from Ronnie. So our new show format, 45 minutes long. Each show, we're going to recap highlights from the previous week. We'll go over the upcoming schedule, and then we're going to highlight what we decided is our game of the week. Then we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a player spotlight. I'll do an offensive player spotlight. Gerald will do a defensive player spotlight on the person that we felt made the biggest impact for their team in the previous week. Then we're going to break down the upcoming game, whichever one's coming up next. And then we're going to make our picks. Unlike last season, we're going to pick all the games except for the one that we're calling.
This way I got a better chance of blowing you out.
Well, or at least even winning.
I let you come back last season, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
This is the third season.
And then you won it all. You won championship and everything. You got greedy.
I did. Third season of the Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I am 2-0 on the seasons in the picks battle. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, let's go over the week 1 schedule here in season 24. So starting things off tonight, obviously, with the Willson SFL Kickoff Show, as we will do every single week. And then Minnesota at Mexico City. It's going to be a fantastic game. I mean, 2 of the top teams from the league last season. Minnesota gave the Aztecs such a close call in that semifinal game. Looking forward to this one. Can't wait to get the season started with that one. Ethan Muslin and Eddie Gage are going to be on the call. DC at Pittsburgh will come up later on tonight. Gerald and myself will do that one. We'll see if I'm excited for that game or if I'll be in tears. It all depends on what happens here in about 38 minutes.
Look, I've been in some situations calling some games after seeing my team lose, even seeing them lose in real time while calling a game. I'm able to stay composed and professional.
A better man than I. Anyway, so Oklahoma City at Queen City. What's old is new again. Eric Vincent and Mickey Malillo. Speaking of old, the 2 of those guys, the oldest broadcast crew we have. Actually, we might be. Ugh,
what? No.
Never mind.
No? I don't know.
It's probably us. Oklahoma City and Queen City. We're going to talk a little bit more about that matchup here in a little bit. That'll be in the last block tonight. 6:30 p.m. Saturday, we have more games kicking off. Florida at Atlanta with Colin and Rick Northrup getting the season started with Colin and Rick at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. And in the 6:45 block, we've got Chicago at Houston with Cameron Duty and Rochelle Colston. Moving on to the 9 o'clock block. Here's a name that you didn't hear last season, Damon Simeon and DJ Kilgannon. There's 2 names you didn't hear last season. Baltimore at Lexington, you got the 2 of them on that call. Fort Worth at Los Angeles with Ramos Lynn and Baron Wendt, another new broadcaster joining us this season. They'll be at 9:15. Fast forward on to Sunday, January 5th, we've got at 9 p.m. Carolina at Denver with Brandon Walters and Alex West. Bossier City at Nashville will feature the one and only Michael Chirillo and Mike O'Neill. And I'll be doing stats for that game, Gerald. So it's going to be Mike, and Mike.
Yeah.
It can't have too many.
No, what you have a Michael and you have a Mike and a Mike.
That's true.
You have a Michael.
He does like to go by Michael.
Because he's ultra professional.
Because he's more professional than
you guys are like, as they say, kind of half-assing a little bit, shorten it up to Mike. It's Michael.
It is what it is, man.
He's a professional, legitly a professional.
He absolutely is a professional. So at 7:15 Monday, we've got This Week in the SFL. That show will be back once again as well. And then at 8:15, we've got Charleston at Indianapolis. Cameron Irvine, Charles Doherty on the call. It's a doubleheader Monday at 10:30 p.m. We've got Sin City making their debut and Albuquerque. Tyler Falk and Brett Solberg on the call for that one. So great week of action. I can't wait to get that started.
Yeah, look, and I love that this slate of games. A lot, some new people, some really good crews. We haven't seen much of Tyler and Brett a whole lot last season. It's really good we get this in week 1.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's get into what we wanted to kind of dub as our game of the week. I know you wanted to talk about, Queen City a little bit and, what they've done to their roster. And I mean, the Queen City of season 23 is not going to be the Queen City of season 24. I can guarantee you that. In the Oklahoma City of season 23 didn't exist. So the fact that they're back again, that alone makes this game exciting. Oklahoma City at Queen City. What's old is new again, if you will. It's a rivalry that's dating back all the way to July 20th, 2013. Season 1, week 5, the New York Knights at that point is what Queen City was called versus the Oklahoma City Renegades. New York would actually get the win over Oklahoma City 37-30. A couple of months later, they'd find themselves in the first ever SFL championship game. New York would get the better of them again in a high-scoring, close game, 45-41. They've met 7 times in history throughout the seasons, all the way up until most recently, week 4 of season 13, which seems absolutely forever ago, August 4th of 2019. That was before that whole COVID thing.
Yes,
that's how long ago that was. That was back when you would look at somebody wearing a mask and be like, What's he got?
Yeah, what's he got? That was back in the SARS days. Remember when SARS
the
was
bird
a
flu
thing?
and the mad cow.
Right.
I think I might have that. Come to think of it, but anyway, Queen City, they got the win back in season 13 as well, 33-17. Queen City actually leads this matchup history 6-3 all time. But here we are, 2025. Oklahoma City is back, and they're going to face off again tonight. Why don't you break that one down for us?
And Oklahoma City, right? Seeing how they was like our former team, kind of tried to absorb some of that, but it's a completely different team. They have one of the smallest rosters with contract players in the SFL. Offensively, they have 3 rookies, 2 of which are at the running back position, and Frank Udon and Jacob Brewer. Look, but they also have 22 seasoned veteran Hopper Irvine himself and Tiberius Bovine. Back at fullback position is similar to something to what he played when Vegas was a thing, before Sin City was a thing, to lead block for those guys. So that could be something that might help them out. But they have 0 offensive linemen to help them along. So I do think they're going to have struggle. They're going to struggle mightily running the ball.
For sure. I mean, with the 2 rookie running backs and no powerful blockers to open up holes for them, it's what else can you call it other than a struggle?
Look, and I think on paper, right, their offense is like I said, on paper, probably their strength is actually their passing game, right? They have a 6-season veteran at quarterback in Colin Pierce,
right,
and also 6-season vet in wide receiver. You love his name, Christian Bachagalupi, comes through. Look, along with a 10-season veteran in tight end Stephen McMichael. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to make that dynamic work, because they have a small offensive roster. They just have quarterback, a couple of running backs, a fullback. They have, a decent set of wide receivers and a tight end, and they don't have much else going for them,
right,
in terms of, anybody that's going to help them, stay on the field, play in the trenches really hard, and actually get them to a position to where they might be able to sustain these long drives. I think they're going to have to do it through the air. So I think offensively, it might be tonight might be a tough start to their season.
Could be. Let's get to a $10 super chat real quick. Came in from Justin Reside. Tonight, Queen City unveils the Casey Myers Memorial banner at Compro Field. She was a ray of sunshine as my friend on and off the field, Special Olympics field, he says. And she will be missed and an honorary member of Queen City. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
So the defense. You want to talk about their defense?
And their defense is also light as well. They don't have a whole lot of people. And look, they only have 2 second and third level defenders contracted. They have no defensive linemen to speak of. They have linebackers and everybody on the in the defensive secondary. So look, the defense does have 4 former All-Stars.
They do.
Look, but will it be enough to keep them in the games? Teams that know how to run the ball and are built really well up front, which we're going to go over to here. I think Queen City is built really well up front to be able to dominate that line of scrimmage and win those battles in the trenches. So I think defensively, they're going to struggle to stop teams.
Yeah, I agree. But I am interested to see what Queen City is going to be able to bring to the table as well. Queen City of last season, they went winless. They haven't won a game in quite some time now. That's going to change. They're not going winless this season. Their roster was completely overhauled, and they're under new leadership, and they've done a bunch of stuff. They've brought in a whole bunch of new players. Talk about that.
They brought in 18 new players, 11 of which are rookies.
Yep.
Look, their offense, they got a huge upgrade with the addition of running back Charlie Baker and wide receivers Ryan Davis and Joe Beasley to the team, along with 2 new quarterbacks. Not just one, 2 new quarterbacks. They bring in a veteran like Michael Brown, and they couple him with a rookie in Isaac Colvert, right, coming out of the minors. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to do that. And not only and they have 5 wide receivers now on offense. So 5 wide receivers with arguably, I think, one of the best tight end the SFL has ever seen, in James Matthew Jr. with his veteran presence and everything else on offense. They could be really, really explosive here. Look, and I really do think offensively, how they're built offensively, I think 0-12, I think for them it's going to be a thing of the past. And I think it could start right here in week 1 against a really light personnel Queens,
Oklahoma City,
Oklahoma City type team. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do. And I think Queen City here just has the upper hand under new leadership offensively.
Yeah, I think probably. Oklahoma City just coming back into the league and doing so about midway through the offseason. Hard to get players at that point. As a former owner, if you're not trying to recruit by about week 4, you're not getting anybody.
You're gonna get behind, and everything happens so late in the season, right? Transitioning, selling the team as late as we did toward the end.
Yes,
didn't have a lot of whole thing. It wasn't really made public, and per league rules, you got to kind of hold back a little bit until you do it. It put them in a bad spot. But hey, look, if you're good at
they can do.
Yeah, but if you're good at recruiting, I mean, you can try and make something happen. But look, they're in the same position a team like Pittsburgh was in last year,
right? They went 2-10,
right? And we're
going to happen,
right? And then we're going to touch on them a little bit later. But they're in the same position where they had a really, really light roster here, right? So look, and Queen City, their defense here and how they look pretty solid with what they built.
They do
on defense as well, even though they are extremely young. 6 players on the defense are rookies, right? Which, in my opinion, is headlined by cornerback Elijah Quick.
Yeah, Quick.
We had a really, really good and successful, minor season, right? When which he's been down there. So it'll be interesting to see how this entire, Queen City squad is going to perform under the new leadership that they have, because I think they built something from top to bottom that they haven't had before.
Yes.
Right. And I do think we're going to see them a little bit different. And then they even got a little bit of a makeover with their logo change and everything else, even though a lot of us thought that, hey, look, what they had was pretty iconic.
It looked just like Chris Curtis.
Right.
How can you change that on us? Why would you do it?
I guess when the logo leaves the team, right? So you got to make it change. But look, with that change, hey, a little bit of a facelift, a refresh, some sort of a makeover. Look, and I think they're going to get themselves in a position where we won't see them with zeros in the win column this year.
No, absolutely not. And just want to touch on Fox Highwind, who I know he's a fan of the show. He's pretty much always here. Love you, Fox. He says 45-minute show. That gives Mike so much more time to talk about the Aztecs at nauseum and Gerald more time to just talk in general. Why is he got to be? You just wait. You just wait to see who I'm about to talk about next, because he thinks that we're just here to talk about the Aztecs, and we could even still talk about the Revs if we wanted to. But he also said he wants to hear this much analysis on all of our game breakdowns. Well, that's part of why we changed the show format a little bit. We didn't want to just talk about game after game after game. It got a little monotonous. We wanted to make sure we kept the show fresh. So going forward, like I said, we're going to do our game of the week, which this is effectively our game of the week because it's 2 teams that we really wanted to talk about.
Right.
Then we're going to talk about 2 player highlights. Here in week 1, we don't have player highlights because there were no, there was no games last week. So what we're going to do is we're going to spotlight teams in the off season. And we want to talk about the teams that we think made one of the biggest impacts to their roster. Initially, I was going to talk about Queen City because of how much they changed, all the points that you just made. But, instead, since we talked about their game as a whole, I wanted to talk about another team that I feel actually did a very similar thing, but they already had a better foundation. And using that better foundation with the changes that they made, I think they're in great position here for season 24. And that team, Fox, is Atlanta. just want to talk about the Aztecs. Listen, I do want to talk about the Aztecs, but nobody would tune in except for Dan Tritz, who just checked in. He'd listen to me talk about the Aztecs, make fun of me the whole time. But anyway, let me talk about Atlanta a little bit and what I saw them do this past offseason. Listen, going into season 23, their roster looked a little weak. Their running back room only had BDG Hollywood and Mitchell O'Brien at fullback. The receiver room had Fox, had Siege Falco, Boo Chisholm. That was it for the receivers, and then they had tight end Why Not Airlet. Their defensive line had a converted linebacker and a rookie, and that was it. GM Fox Highwind, who we've already heard from tonight in the chat, he was very vocal about people counting Atlanta out right from the beginning. But listen, who can blame those people? Some of the names on their roster, they have some big names, right? They did last season too. Bryant Dynasty, BDG Hollywood, Fox Highwind, Siege Falco, Boo Chisholm, Grandpa Shine, as we call him anyway, Jay Miraculous, the Moose.
Yeah, the Moose.
The Moose. They had Chris Henry, people that have been around forever. But they didn't have a huge supporting cast behind those people. All that said, they really overperformed. They definitely beat expectations. They went 6-6. They made the postseason. They did lose in the wild card round to Arizona, who was arguably one of the best teams in the season. I think they were number 2 seed.
Arizona, no, I think that was number 3. Yeah, I think you're right.
I was 3.
You were
3, baby. Yeah, Arizona was 2 because they beat us. But anyway, so listen, Atlanta, we're moving on from season 23.
No, we're not. You're not gonna allow that to happen.
James. Anyway, all right, back to Atlanta. Listen, Atlanta retained almost everybody. You know, they only had a couple of people not re-signed, and that shows the confidence and the loyalty that their players have in that team. The average for how many seasons that the players who have been on the team that aren't free agents or rookies is 8 seasons each. That's the average. So I mean,
they're very good.
Yeah, they're players that have re-signed have been re-signing, and an up season, a down season doesn't matter. They come back for more. So, you know, not only did they retain everybody, but, you know, they brought in some free agents and rookies. So let's talk about them. 5 free agent signings. Hubba Kimbrell, among one of my favorites. They added him to the halfback, room to fix major issues with the running back depth chart. BDG Hollywood is good. He's not going to be able to do it by himself, and they were trying to basically make him do it by himself. So they bring in Hubba Kimbrell. You know, he's there. They also added Hattori Hanzo from Carolina to replace O'Brien at fullback. So now I've got 3 people in that running back room. Ryan Roosevelt, he was added to, help bolster the depth chart there in the receiver room, and really gives them 4 number 1 receivers. You know, I mean, that's a heck of a receiving room. Defensively, Anthony Wyo and Zach Lay from Indianapolis and Vancouver, respectively, they replaced a departing cornerback and added depth. If that wasn't enough, they brought in 3 rookies, headlined by number 7 overall pick and new broadcaster Baron Went, which was an absolutely huge need and a huge addition to their defensive line. Season 22, they came in with season 23, they came in with 22 players. Season 24, they're coming in with 27. It's a much stronger depth chart, much stronger team. Look for Atlanta to make a splash this season. They definitely made a splash this offseason. Who do you got?
Look, I have Pittsburgh.
You mean Louisiana North?
It's no secret why that is, right? The Pittsburgh River Hogs can now be called Louisiana North with the high amount of former Louisiana Revolution players they brought in through free agency. So a total of 8 former Revs will be taking the field this season in Pittsburgh in the River Hog colors and logos and everything that goes along with it. On offense, they brought in Ziggy Ronick, Mike Twinscrew, and Levy Lease, and the man who I think will have a breakout season. I said it many, many times in the minors, watching him play with the Albuquerque Adams down there, and Tyler Gregory, right? So look, and they will be all looking to catch passes from, he's been one of my favorite quarterbacks since he joined the league, 10 seasons ago in Ace Finnick. He's one of the most impressive, quarterbacks I've actually seen in the league. One of the most consistent guys I've ever seen.
One of my favorites too, except for when we play against him.
Right. So look, and he's so, for me, it's kind of crazy to see him move north because he's always been lingering down in the south, right? So from Lone Star to Bossier City and all these things, and Alamo City and all that stuff. So it's kind of crazy to see him move north. But hey, look. He was, if you think about it, they might have 9 guys that were Louisiana guys because he was in Bossier City and he moved north with the other guys that actually, moved up there. So look, and this offense has the ability to be really, really great in the passing game with these players that I just mentioned, above, and not to mention their offensive line that they have assembled to block for the running backs of Mike Churchill and BB Blitz, who are both returning from last season. The offense will end up surprising a lot of people, I do believe. I think they have on offense what they built is just something that they can, even take further on. And I do think we're not going to see a 2-10 type offense that we saw last season from Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
right?
I mentioned that earlier. It's not a chance. They're going to do good things.
Look, and in my opinion, they made the best defensive signings with the addition, and this is biased, completely biased,
100%,
with the underrated.
But it's our show, so say whatever you want.
By Brian Coach Craven, and another player that will have a massive breakout season in linebacker, Tommy Wellbrock Bussy.
Yes, sir.
I remember he gave me fits trying to fit that name on the back of a uniform, but it was a thing of beauty once it was complete. They both had the ability to take over the field at their respective positions.
Yes.
Then you sprinkle in, in veterans on the defense like Butch Minner, Corey Minner, and Kane Vasquez, all across the defense. Look, and they have something special. If they can put that all together with the potential and the talent that they actually have on there. Now, look, this is last but definitely not least the best special teams duo to ever take the field in SFL history, in my opinion, and this is a fact, you can take it to the bank, is kicker Otis Boudreaux and punter Vida Lee. Otis is a 2-time special teams player of the season who carried this my Rev team to a semifinal appearance not that long ago. And Miss Vida Lee has the ability to flip the field on opponents, to force opponents to go the length of the field to try and get anything done. So, look, they have the talent across the board, right? And you'd be hard-pressed to find a better-built roster than what they've done this offseason. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a fan of what they've done, not only just what they've built, but outside of them being Louisiana players on this team, I do think that they have the necessary pieces to put it together to make themselves a potential playoff team.
Yeah.
They just have to have the coaching and the game planning behind it to follow that up.
Well, GM Keith Wheeler was certainly quick to start picking at the corpse of the green horses that lay there dying. Took all the usable bits.
He ran away. Now you telling me he's dead? Like, what's happening? Man, you just
what I meant was he went to a farm, Gerald. The horses at a farm, at a faraway land. You can't drive there. You can't. It's too far to.
Wow.
Oops.
He was alive and now he's not. Thank you.
Hey, I was lucky just to get Chance Wall away from your team before Keith scooped everybody else up.
He would have scooped them up.
He would have. Yeah, he would have. But I got there first for that one. But anyway, so, hey, I guess this is the point of the show where I start to talk about the Mexico City Aztecs ad nauseum, because we're going to break down the game that we've got coming up next, less than 20 minutes away from kickoff. Can't wait to get the season started with this one. Minnesota at Mexico City. The teams that were voted number 2 and number 1, respectively, in the SFL Power Rankings this week. And why wouldn't they be, right? I mean, what a semifinal game that was. You and I always talk about it. Listen, the championship game was great. I loved winning it. It was everything that I hoped it would be. It was great. Plan to do it again, too. So that being said, that semifinal game made my watch think that I had a medical issue going on. As I was watching overtime, it was intense, and the walk-off field goal in overtime to actually get the win. Listen, this is how you start an SFL season, is with a matchup like this. The fact that either one of these teams is going to start this season 0-1 is just weird to think about, but somebody is going to lose this game. Minnesota at Mexico City, they've met 3 times over history, won each over the past 3 seasons. Mexico City has won 2 out of those 3 matchups, the most recent one being the semifinal game. All 3 have been a single score game. Speaking of single score games, Mexico City's now gone 2 full seasons without losing a single game by more than a single score. That's a heck of a feat.
Yeah, but a loss is a loss.
But it was a close loss. 1 touchdown away from being undefeated 2 straight seasons in a row.
That's true.
I was throwing that out there. So Minnesota, they're 40-27 all time, which is a top 5 winning percentage in the league. Pretty darn good for a relatively new team compared to some of these others. They've never missed the playoffs. How about that?
They won the division with a losing record, and I blame Indianapolis for that. Thank you, Chad Rowland, for that. But look, this is the thing. But anyway, but they've done it.
They have done it. They're coming off a 9-3 regular season and a semifinal loss. Each of those games were a single score game as well. So these teams, you're right, a loss is a loss, but when these teams lose, it ain't by much. So who's going to win this one? I don't know. 2 of the best go head-to-head coming up next.
So look, and that's the thing, like with what we got going on with the, like what you just mentioned right there, with them, those 2 teams right there put together such a really, really good game together that what ended up happening is all the games that they play and they bring it in with such a low scoring game, it gives such entertainment. So whenever those teams, these type of 2 teams are on the field, guess what happens? We end up in a situation where we know we're going to get good football.
We are.
And we saw it in the semifinals, right? Between the 2 teams. So, and these teams did it. Now, for me, look, Minnesota is coming in off of their semifinal loss. And what did they do? They did that, and they played you guys, and they end up just losing it, and it is what it is. You guys went there and you guys ended up winning a championship. Now, how it shaped out, they just went through and they didn't lose that many people. They just went here and they retained most of their roster, right? Bringing in
they
a few
added
pieces
on some extra parts.
Yeah, bringing in a few pieces here, a few pieces there, but they're still going to have that same type of ball control type offense that they've actually had in seasons, in season past. And I don't see it change because why? They're keeping everything intact. Leadership is still the same. The players are almost the same, right? So they didn't have to move too many pieces around to make it what they are. So they're just refining what they did, last season and slightly improving upon it to get them over the edge because they were so close to making that championship game, as going into overtime, as you've seen right there. And defensively, like I said, from their offense, and same thing here, their defense has a knack to just take the ball away, shut down the run, and their defense has a habit of just smothering you down. So their offense will go down and actually end up in a situation where they're driving down there, they're using up time, and they're just going down there. They have a knack for getting a third and short. And what their defense does, their defense is able to get off the field on third downs as well. So, and that's what they're going to bring to this game as well, similar to what we saw you guys play. I would be surprised if we end up with seeing the same type of game, this game between you, just as we did, in the semifinals of last year. Now, you guys did the best thing you could have done in the offseason, which is sign Chance Wall on the defense, right? The best thing you could have done to make you even that more. So you might get, a couple, you might go undefeated because of that.
You talked about how, Minnesota retained pretty much everybody and just added on a couple of key pieces, same leadership. It's like, you could just say that exact same sentence over again and just throw Mexico City in front of it. We did the same thing.
See, and what you guys did, you guys also traded, you went from 2 tight ends and now you add another receiver. You drafted
Jared Dumas.
Jared Dumas at wide receiver and stuff like that, right? And then you actually, pull your guys in. Oh, almost swallowed my tongue right there.
Listen, I don't know if you can handle a 45-minute show. We've hit the 30-minute mark and you're falling apart.
But look, so you guys did that same thing, right? So you pulled it in and you guys got it all together and you guys got a couple offensive linemen that you drafted, everything else, right? You guys retain a lot of that. I don't see the offensive scheme changing a whole lot for you guys because you retained a lot of that stuff.
Right.
So, and then even though you lost it, you still have a big, bulky wide receiver like a Noah Terrazas that you might be able to plug in a tight end to whenever you need them, to be able to do it. Plus you have Jacob Morrison, who had a phenomenal minor league season. We saw he just ran over everybody, and then you have the Hall of Famer and Ray Bentley doing the same thing. And on defensive side, you got Hall of Famers down there as well. You didn't lose much of nothing down there. You gained a lot more than what you did. You got Sir Ron Yates on the defensive line, and you also have Chance Wall.
Yes.
So when you couple all that stuff together with the way you guys played last season, the way you run the offense, and the way I know Ramos did the defense, we saw that against Canton in the championship game.
Yeah.
What kind of defense he can put forth and forward. I do think, you guys have a very good chance at making another championship run. Like I said, all this is on paper. Everything's changed. Some things change.
You never know what's actually going to happen once the game starts.
But look, I think this two teams, I don't think, right here to kick off the season, we couldn't have a better matchup than this game right here, because this was one of the better games from this past season.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, the goal was definitely to retain as many players as possible. I mean, that continuity is what helps, teams like Baltimore, who's won several consecutive championship games. That's how they do it. They retain their talent, they retain that roster, they build on it and enhance it from season to season, and being able to have that sort of continuity leads to success.
I wish I could say that about my team, because we had very high retention.
Yeah. You had great continuity. The end.
that was about it.
Listen, you played in a really tough South Division. You got to attribute some of that to that. But some of the players that we lost, AK Jones decided to retire. So wish him all the best, and the next stage of whatever he's planning on doing in life. Skylar Kingsley's taking a season off, but fully expect him to be back in the future. We've still got the door propped open for him, just waiting for him to come back. So we've got Sir Ron Yates, who is taking over that spot for him, and obviously Chance Wall filling in for AK Jones.
Is it a thing, Chance Wall excluded, because he doesn't jump on nobody's bandwagon, and he just, he's just a great guy all around? But you think you think you're gonna have room? Say you guys make another championship run, will you have enough room for the bandwagon people that say, I want to be on that team?
Probably not. No,
because they get to see your face every week now.
That's true.
Well, last season too. But it's like, hey, look, now he's a guy that can put together a championship team.
Yeah, no, I mean, this
it's time to market
we have one of the, in my humble opinion anyway. Humble. We can,
You're not humble.
listen, in my humble opinion,
Expert
we
opinion.
have one of the best rosters. I love this group of guys. So many of them, like Dan Tritz, who I saw in the chat earlier, have said, I'm playing for the Aztecs and only the Aztecs forever. That's it. And we've had several players tell us that. Will we have room for a bunch of new players? No, I don't think so. Until somebody like AK Jones decides to retire, that opened up a spot. Without that retirement, listen, if you're on our roster and you want to stay on our roster, you're going to. Chance Wall wants to keep on playing as an Aztec. He's going to be an Aztec. Even Saran Yates, sure, he's filling in for Skyler right now. I can make the two of them work. We'll certainly make that happen. My wife plays linebacker. We'll just make her.
I was sad
keep
to
the bench
see
warm.
my linebacker collection go away. And might I add, on Minnesota too, guess what they have there? They have Slim Shady. They took Slim Shady,
They got Slin.
converted him from a linebacker, made him a safety. That right there is going to be something very interesting to watch because he is athletic enough to make things going. So I think you're going to have to watch out. He knows how to hit. Future Hall of Famer, by the way. He's not a Hall of Fame yet. He should be. So we need to make sure that happens. But look, it's going to be a thing that's going to see how that's going to do with all the pieces that you guys have added, which is very few. Just like Minnesota added very few. But I do think it's enough to make you guys even better.
That game coming up in less than 10 minutes. Doug Day wants to know where I got this shirt made. The Mexico City Aztecs team store, just sflaztecs.com, and you can buy one yourself there, Doug. So I don't think that's what he wanted to know, but I would like to see him in an Aztec shirt. So let's get into our picks. We only picked 2 or 3, maybe 4 games per week last season. We're gonna pick them all. We're gonna pick every game except for the one that we're calling. We're calling DC Pittsburgh later on, so no picks for that one. But we'll pick all of the other games, and then we'll get into Minnesota at Mexico City. So starting off with the picks, Minnesota at Mexico City. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Mexico City. Why? Because I do think you guys got a little bit stronger. Even though they got a little bit stronger, I think you guys had that edge, right? Like you guys bested them already, and you guys are playing at home. I don't think you're going to lose the home opener right here in the sole spotlight to kick out the season. I think Mexico City takes it. Minnesota looks still great. They're still going to do what they're going to do. They're going to give you guys a tough match, but I do think it's going to be another field goal game.
Yeah, it very well could be. Good thing I've got Chaz Blackwater ready to kick that game winner again, because Mexico City is my pick. I'm sure that's a shock to everybody. Listen, if we're picking games every week, just pen me in right now. I'm never betting against.
Like what kind of an owner coach?
That would be bad. Yeah, well,
if you pick against,
we're doomed this week. I don't think we stand a chance.
I sure hope that isn't a thing for anybody.
I'm sure
who's ever going to pick games.
Sure
Now, I would.
You
see,
might
like,
bet against me.
I remember. I think it was Eddie Gage that he probably was like, yeah, we're going undefeated. Everybody's like, dude, you're not going undefeated. He's like, what would I look like to my team if I said we're going to lose?
Yeah, I think we'll lose half.
So it's not. It's just not a thing.
Oklahoma City at Queen City.
I've gone with Queen City for all the reasons I stated and broke down before. Why? Because I do think Queen City, the way they changed leadership, the way they completely overhauled their whole team. OKC, not that they have a bad roster, they are just so light at really important positions. I really do think, look, I guess I'm going to knock them a little bit. They just devalued the trench positions on both sides of the ball, on the offensive line and the defensive line. I do think that's going to be something because they're going to struggle running the ball, and I do believe they're going to struggle protecting their passer as well. And they're going to supply no pass rush to their opponents either, or even stop the run. So they're asking a lot from the second, third level defenders on defense. Yeah. So I just think Queen City has what it takes right now to win it here in week 1.
Yeah, I'm picking Queen City as well because let's go Buffalo. Also, because of the reasons that you said, but Buffalo. Listen, Queen City will always have a special place in my heart. It's where my player started.
My player didn't start there.
No,
my
he
player's
sure
a
didn't.
team that doesn't exist.
Yeah, ran off to that farm we talked about.
Yeah, that one too. That was some sort of a lion dragon thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
Anywho, all right. So Florida,
it drowned on its way over to the mainland.
Florida at Atlanta.
I'm going with Florida. Why? Because I have it out for Atlanta, I guess, right? The only good bug is the dead bug. So I didn't. Fox, I love you. No, I love you. But I think Florida just has that magic going for them, right? Atlanta in this thing is going to have to prove it to me, right? Yeah. Last season, they kind of scraped by, and I know they did a lot of good things in the offseason that you actually touched on with bringing all these people in. but I think Florida just has that secret sauce, and they just know how to win, and they win early really, really well. Most times for Florida, it's somewhere around mid-season when people start figuring them out, right? And like I said, Atlanta to me is a mystery. That's a big reason why I'm taking Florida on the road for them. So Florida's proven it. Atlanta, in my opinion, hasn't, especially in this Florida-Atlanta matchup over time. So I'm taking Florida.
Iggy in the chat wants to know which rookies are debuting tonight. Watch for Jared Dumas to take the opening kickoff of the season back for a touchdown. Calling it now. I am going to take listen, I am who I am. It is what it is. Deal with it. Atlanta. I am taking Atlanta in Florida. At Atlanta, I think they've done enough in the offseason. In Florida, I don't know. They won a lot of games last season. They won the East. But every once in a while, you'd watch their game and it's like, what is this? I don't know. Who knows? Listen, these are all wild picks here in week 1. I'm going with Atlanta. Chicago at Houston.
I'm taking Houston here for one reason only. I love DeMont Simeon, and I love my son. Blake B. Craze is one of the linebackers
there. You go.
And let's go third reason. Chicago is not the bomb pops.
Chicago is not the bomb pops, and I'm picking Houston. I think these two teams are very evenly matched. Chicago, I think they've made enough changes in the offseason and even late in the season, in season 23, where they're going to win more games. But playing in Houston, listen, we barely beat Houston too last season. They're a tough team. They're a lot better than their record was. Houston's going to get the win. Baltimore at Lexington.
Baltimore, just for the same reasons I picked Florida. Baltimore, They just know how to do it. They have high retention. They find every little edge they can get, and they make it happen. Lexington, while they made it to the playoffs and everything and got themselves in it, they just don't have enough. And I do think we're going to see the same type of, I think, just scrappy Lexington team, but I just don't think they have it up to enough to compete with Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going with Baltimore for the same reason, even being on the road. Baltimore was the highest scoring team last season, and it wasn't even really close. Listen, they allowed a lot of points on defense last season, which is why they didn't do as good as they wanted to do. But they're going to keep on scoring like they were, and it's going to be hard for teams to beat them. Fort Worth at Los Angeles.
Well, this is going to be the hot take for me, and I'm going with Rochelle Likens. Why? Because I love Rochelle, right? And plus, I've never beaten Fort Worth in my whole career of owning a team. So you know what? I just don't downright like them, and I want them to lose because somebody needs to beat them because I couldn't. Rochelle, it's a Louisiana name. Plus, you see the L, the A, right? L-A. That's a Louisiana abbreviation. Plus, I do think that they've done something pretty good with their team, right? They're not scrubs and like that. I just think last season they had everything it took. It's had trouble kind of putting the pieces together, get the game plan together. I think week 1 is a very, very good surprise win for them. If you're going to, kind of jump out of the weeds and just attack a team like this and get that sneak win, this is it for LA right here.
Fort Worth. Great take. Fort Worth's going to get the win. Carolina, Denver.
I'm going with Denver right here. Why? Because I just love to hate Carolina. I love you, Harish. I love you, everybody there and everything else. Chris Curtis and Skippy and all those people. You know what? I'm picking Denver. Why? Because believe it or not, I know I called them, it's like somebody dumpster diving last season in Denver. They've done good things this offseason. They brought in some quality players. They even got some former Louisiana players there, right? We already know they got Jeff Melanishin. They got Tank Bennett there and everything. So they've actually brought some pieces in, and the way their coach is going and everything else. I hear things in the offseason. I talk, but guess what? Guess what happens? Hey, sit there. I think they're going to win that game.
I'm going to go with Carolina for the exact opposite reasons of everything you just said. So Carolina on the road, I think they're actually going to be able to get the win over Denver. Bossier City at Nashville.
I'm taking Bossier City. Why? It's the Louisiana team. We all know my feelings about Nashville going back last season. But you want to know the reason why? It's because Johnny Pickett's there. Johnny Pickett has his most success in Louisiana. The only problem with him, he's not in Louisiana. With me, he's in Bossier City, but I do think they take down Nashville.
I think Nashville's going to get the win. They did a lot of good things last season, at least in the first half of the season. Second half, not so much. I think they learned from it. They're at home. I think they're going to get the win. Charleston at Indianapolis.
I do think with Charleston's going to take with Indianapolis. Indianapolis is under some new leadership, although good. I do think Charleston is better built and better sustainable team than Indianapolis.
Jared Dumas's lovely wife, Miranda, is now a rookie on Charleston. I think she's going to help push them over the top. Charleston's going to get the win. in Indy. Last one, Sin City at Albuquerque.
I'm taking Albuquerque. Why? Because I think they actually found out what is going to make them tick. They were so hit or miss last season, couldn't win on the road and everything else. And I do think that, look, I don't know how many samurais are in Sin City. I've never seen or ever heard one of Sin City. But guess what? I do think they're going to take that whatever atomic nonsense and Uzi, just radioactive stuff in Albuquerque, and it's going to just evaporate the samurai.
There you go. Albuquerque, they don't lose a home. I'm also taking Albuquerque. That's all the time that we've got. I think we're pretty much right on time, Gerald, to the second. So we'll wrap it up right here. Minnesota at Mexico City comes up next. We'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody.